Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I'm going to talk about the Durham probe special counsel. It's a special counsel just like the Mueller probe, but media does not want to talk about everything we've discovered in the past couple of days. Really, everything that I've been saying for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. To my super chat, thank you so very much. I can't do these without you. So if you want to talk about anything via super chat, that would be greatly appreciated. Eric, Luke, thank you so very much for being amazing moderators. JG, hello everyone here. Insubordinate, hello everyone here. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Why am I talking about Elizabeth Warren and Donna Brazile and the 2016 Democratic primary? Well, because it traumatized me. Actually, it didn't traumatize me. It enlightened me. I got to understand the true nature of the Democratic Party, what they're all about. They're really wonderful, morally superior, fantastic people who happen to just have a primary just for like a theatrical performance called the Democratic primary. It's a theatrical performance. They might as well, it's performance art. They pick their candidate beforehand. And so I'm starting off before we get to the Durham probe, and we will get to the Durham probe special counsel. And we're going to talk about the fact that they used a tech company, yet again, to set up and frame Trump. But I want to tie in something very, very important. And it's something that people haven't come to terms with yet, especially people on the left who don't want to hear about the Durham probe special counsel. Elizabeth Warren, of all people, the senator who failed her DNA test. And how you fail a DNA test, I don't know. You tell me how that's possible. But she fails her DNA test. And a couple good things, though, that she did in her life was, well, one good thing is that she admitted to the world that the Democratic primary cheated Bernie Sanders. So they use a word that I'm not going to use because whatever. I want to be, always on point with YouTube-friendly guidelines, and who knows, the algorithm might not like that word. So let's just say they lied to Bernie Sanders, said it was fair and neutral, and cheated Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren and Donna Brazile agree that they cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016. They did so in 2020 also, but who's counting? What's a couple primaries back-to-back among friends? You have to understand the nature, the type of people we're talking about, okay? These people have no problem lying to their voters. They say, look, I was a lifelong Democrat. Okay, they say that Republicans lie to their voters. The reverse is true. Republicans might lie to their voters, that's true, but not to the extent, nearly to the extent as Democrats. This is a PBS NewsHour. Just check this out. Check this out. You can actually hear Elizabeth Warren admit that they cheated Bernie Sanders. So check it out. I mean, it's not just, if you ask certain people, oh, that's not true, it didn't happen. Well, even Elizabeth Warren is going to admit that the same people who set up and framed Trump, well, she won't admit anything pertaining to the Durham probe. But the same people who set up and framed Trump did similar things to Bernie Sanders. So listen to this, ladies and gentlemen.
That a new book that is coming out by Donna Brazile, the former acting chair of the Democratic National Committee, that the campaign of Secretary Hillary Clinton was far more influential at the Democratic Party, the Democratic National Committee, than we previously knew. Do you think, though, that what we're learning from Donna Brazile's book suggests that the campaign, that what the Democratic National Committee did, meant this election was rigged?
Yeah, I think it was.
It's a pretty powerful charge.
Well, what we have to focus on now as Democrats is we recognize the process was rigged, and now it is up to Democrats to build a new process, a process that really works.
So this is the psychological manipulation here. She ran in 2024 knowing very well that she would cut and split Bernie Sanders, his movement. They split my movement. It turned into a bowel movement. Can you believe the mishegas I had to deal with? She is here doing something noble and courageous and wonderful. And this relates directly to the Durham probe, okay? So you have to look at things in from a bird's eye perspective. You can't just you can't have blinders on it and focus only on Durham and not understand what's going on, okay? JG, it is awesome, isn't it? I mean, she was telling the truth for a second. This is a PBS News Hour, and I'm only using this. It's American Public Broadcasting Service, and this is for educational and news and reporting. Nothing else. So falls under fair use, and she's telling the truth. Okay? She's telling the truth. They cheated Bernie Sanders. Okay? Every day, children around the country should say a prayer, should say the Pledge of Allegiance, and also should say they cheated Bernie Sanders. Now, class, we've said the pledge, we've said a prayer, and what did the DNC do to Bernie Sanders in 2016? Cheated Bernie Sanders! Yay! That's what everyone should be reminded of that every single day. Because you have to understand the mentality here. Do you think that they wouldn't engage in surveillance of Trump if they do this to their own candidates? Do you think that they're capable of Pierre Delecto? Do you think that they're capable of anything now? If Elizabeth Warren and Donna Brazile, who both told the truth, and mind you, I want Hillary Clinton to run again. It'll vindicate everything that I've been saying, which would be fantastic. She could win, but I think Trump would win again, would defeat her. But you know what? She would still make a better president than mashed potato brains Biden. But anyway, you have to understand. Ed from Queens, thank you. I don't know. Ed from Queens, thank you so much. To my super chat, thank you. You have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, the psychology. Before getting to the Durham probe, the psychology is the one of the few people, Elizabeth Warren, who had, enough courage at that moment, to tell the truth. She helped railroad Bernie Sanders 4 years later. Okay, when she was running for president, she knew very well failing her DNA test and being perhaps a carbon copy of Bernie or perhaps the same type of person, she knew that she wasn't going to get the nomination. So why did she run? Because she's a Democrat. So what she did was tell the truth in 2016, and 4 years later, she basically treated Bernie Sanders in the same manner that the DNC, that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the same manner as Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the DNC and Clinton treated Bernie Sanders. Basically, what he's saying is every single 4 years, they're going to completely engage in mishegas and cheat me and say that it's fair and neutral when it's not really fair and neutral. They don't have a fair and neutral primary, okay? It's about as neutral as CNN and MSNBC. Ebrey! Hello, Ebrey. Thank you, Ebrey. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. The point I'm trying to make is this is a political organization that is capable of anything. They're capable of anything. And knowing they're capable of anything makes the world a lot better. It's a much better, like, I don't take politics as seriously as I used to because I understand what they're capable of. And they're capable, I mean, I take it seriously when I have to, but they're capable of cheating their own candidates. They're capable of setting up and framing Trump. They're very likely capable of anything. And so I shouldn't say I don't take it as seriously. I am aware of how things really are. So, like, the knock on me, for example, is that, H.A. Goodman, Bernie, how Bernie can still win. The same people saying that, number one, are not actually quoting me. I never said, after a certain point, I forgot when it was like Clinton had, I think after she won California or something like that, I never said anything pertaining to how Bernie could still win. It was Bernie Sanders who said that he was going to protest, or I forgot the word he used, but he was going to not accept or fight the nomination. So he's the one who said that. And when he said that, I said, you know what, if he makes a case that, hey, it's a populist year, people want a populist candidate, I might, I was referring to what he was saying. But again, he accepted everything, and he never even brought up the fact he was cheated. But I never was saying that he was going to take the nomination after a certain point. What I did say was that he was the much better candidate, and that he could, at that point, that Clinton could not defeat Trump, which I was right about. And also, we learned the primary was completely a theatrical performance art, and they cheated Bernie Sanders. It wasn't fair and neutral. It was skewed towards one. They had already picked a candidate before the primary even started. So there was really no primary. So the fact that people would even try to disparage me without acknowledging that they cheated Bernie Sanders is really hilarious. One YouTuber, I was on his show. He has 1 million plus subs, and he replayed a segment or an interview of me when my writing was going, through the roof and getting hundreds of thousands of likes and shares on Facebook and Twitter, and so I was saying that I think Bernie Sanders could defeat Clinton in the primary. He was saying, no, that's not the case. We found out that Bernie Sanders was cheated. So this YouTuber conveniently omits the fact that even Elizabeth Warren says that it wasn't fair. It was completely and utterly a preordained type of thing. The word is you can use the word that Elizabeth Warren used. Okay, I love that. I love when people give analysis of a primary that actually wasn't really a primary. It was more of a coronation. And they give the analysis as if anyone, was victorious based on any meritocracy. The whole thing was a setup. That's what I'm trying to say. Democrats only care about the bottom line. The ends justify the means. They don't care how they get to a certain point. They just want to get to that point. They don't care. So if they have to set up and frame Trump and take the country on a wild ride, make half the country believe that their president was installed by the Kremlin, they'll do so without any evidence at all. They'll pay attorneys like Sussman. They'll do so. They don't care. They don't care. If they have to cheat their own candidates in a primary, they will do so. If they have to manipulate and deceive and utilize media to achieve their political objectives, they will do so. And it's important to take, to take that into account when looking at the Durham probe. And people need to take that into account. People need to understand that you're not dealing with a political side that is rational or logical. Not saying that Republicans are always rational and logical, but they're a lot more rational than today's Democrats. 20 years ago, the Bush Republicans were the epicenter of corruption. That the pendulum has swung to the left. Now the Democratic Party is the epicenter of corruption. The same person that you're looking at who was honest enough to admit it's really Vox was the Democratic primary. Meanwhile, like the DNC chair admits it, Donna Brazile and Elizabeth Warren both admit. But of course, Vox, they can't admit it. But what I'm trying to say is, look at things from the perspective of, if they're going to cheat their own candidate, imagine what they would do to an opposing candidate. Imagine what media was willing to do. Because media was just as vicious, or I should say, they weren't as vicious against Bernie Sanders, but they were just as biased against Bernie Sanders, but in a less overt manner. They just didn't cover him for a long time. So, and then you have like the voting base. The average Democrat enjoys getting, deceived and duped. They don't care. They either enjoy it or they'll accept it. They just don't care. That's why when I was like, I'm not voting for Clinton. I'm only voting for Bernie. I'll write him in. Well, first of all, Bernie Sanders, he was either in on it or for some reason didn't, he's never even addressed the fact that he was cheated. I find that very bizarre. So you're either so frightened and intimidated that you don't address the fact you were cheated, or you were in on it. Either way, how anyone still votes for Bernie Sanders, I have no clue. He's probably a good human being. He probably there's some kind of reasoning or rationale there's some kind of excuse or reasoning why he hasn't addressed the fact he was cheated. But you have to ask yourself, these are Democrats that say that Trump is a menace to democracy after they set up and frame him, and also after they cheated their own candidate in a primary. And then 4 years later, there is there's an app in Iowa. App was made by Clinton campaign. Oh, you mean to tell me I was up in Iowa 4 years later, and there was an app made by Madam Secretary? What's the matter? You couldn't use a calculator? There were no more calculators? What about an abacus? You couldn't find a calculator? I mean, they did it to him. You know that Lionel Richie song? Do it to me one more time. Just give me one more chance, this heart of mine. They did it to him again. They did it to him again. Do it to me one more time, baby. App made by a Clinton campaign veterans firm is behind Iowa debacle. So you have to understand, like, you have to take things. I understand that, like, there's a lot of people who might say, oh no, here we go. Why is he talking about this? Why is he talking about this? What does Bernie Sanders have to do with the Durham probe? Bernie Sanders has everything. Bernie Sanders getting cheated has everything to do with every single political topic this year and next year and the year after, and until they acknowledge, until people acknowledge that he was cheated, and until Democratic voters acknowledge that Bernie Sanders was cheated and that they were okay with him being cheated, and that they are judging and pontificating and preaching and giving sermons from the vantage point of loyalty to a political party that cheats its own candidates, and then pontificates about democracy. How can you talk about democracy when you utilize intelligence agencies to frame and set up Trump, and prior to that, cheat your own candidate in Bernie Sanders? How can you do that? So, I mean, there's a direct correlation. We can talk about Sussman for an hour. We will. And the tech company and tech executive one, and all of these. I mean, they use technology. Look, there was an app. I mean, we can read this right now. There's, oh my God, an application? Really? In 2016, for the first time, precinct chairs used a smartphone app built by Microsoft. Then, after blaming the delay, then this year, or last year, with 2 years ago, with the state party promising to disclose more granular data. Don't you love this? It's the granular data. When they need more granular data. Then in the past, the job of coding the app went to a tech firm run by veterans of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. I mean, you can't make this up. Madam Secretary's everywhere. Everywhere. There's nothing to stop me this time. I'm going to win Iowa, and it's on to the White House. What? What do you mean I didn't win? The application is what? Oh my God. Well, where did you buy the app? What? The Clinton campaign? Oh my God. This is not again. So, throughout the night, precinct chairs found themselves unable to get the app to work. Many never how to download it or install it in the first place. Why not? Those who tried to report their results via backup phone line wound up on hold. Michigan Grandma! Thank you, Michigan Grandma. Love your live streams, HA. Thank you so much, Michigan Grandma. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Very, very kind of you. Thank you for the kind words. Michigan Grandma, thank you so much. So sweet of you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michigan Grandma. Well, you know what? It was just a coincidence, everybody. Michigan Grandma, thank you so much. So kind of you. It was a coincidence, just like it was a coincidence that an attorney allegedly lied to the Bureau about working for Clinton. I mean, all roads lead to... Oh, all roads lead to us. That's right. All roads lead to you-know-who. Madam Secretary and myself. That's right. If you're going, no matter where you're going on the map, you're going to intersect Clinton and Clinton. So, this is hilarious. After blaming the delay on inconsistencies in reporting of 3 sets of results, it wasn't until Tuesday afternoon that the Iowa Democratic Party was confident enough in the accuracy of its numbers to begin releasing partial results. The whole thing is fabricated. Michigan Grandma, thank you again. The whole thing is fabricated. These are formalities. You know, Iowa, all of these primaries. The Democratic primary is a lesson in manipulation. It's a case study in this theatrical farce, this absurd performance art. Democrats choose their candidate beforehand. Okay? The DNC lawyers stated that in the DNC fraud lawsuit. So these little coincidences are not, this is absurd. You would have to be a complete gullible buffoon and imbecile to think that it was just a well-meaning, this is Tammany Hall stuff. They've been doing this since the 1800s. This is nothing new. The problem is that most of the pundits on the left have no grasp of history. So they couldn't possibly admit that the Democratic Party's been cheating for a long time. We sincerely regret the delay in reporting of the results last night, Iowas, and uncertainty it has caused to the candidates. We really feel terrible. Shadow, and they always have the greatest names. Shadow, chief executive. He blamed a breakdown. It was a bug in the app. Gosh, isn't that too bad? Well, that's interesting. And then, really quickly, before we get to Iowa, before we get to Elizabeth Warren, okay, honestly, just before we get to, okay, before we get, this is Elizabeth Warren, who took like a nanosecond to be noble and courageous. You can't make this up. And so, yeah, the Durham probe special counsel is very important, okay? If you don't think it is, just look at what they do to each other. Imagine. If they do this to each other, imagine what they do to Trump. But Bernie Sanders told Elizabeth Warren in private, listen to this. You have to enjoy this. If you're not enjoying this, you need to enjoy this. Because Michigan Grandma, thank you so very much. Bernie Sanders told Elizabeth Warren in a private 2018 meeting that a woman can't win. Sources say. Sanders responded that he didn't believe a woman could win. Oh, Lizzie. Now, thanks a lot for spreading gossip. Yet again, my chances at global domination have been undermined by more Michigas. By what you would call as Lashon Hara. For those of you of my background. Yet again, Elizabeth Warren, you've yet again done everything possible to undermine my success. Jordan B. I am Cajun, but do not claim that France owes me anything. Thanks for all the hard work you do. Jordan B. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan B. Thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated. Michigan Grandma, thank you. Jordan B., thank you. Thank you, Jordan B., thank you. So, just look at Bernie Sanders. This is what they accuse, and they didn't stop. So it wasn't just an app. I mean, this is what they do to Bernie Sanders. Imagine what they would do to Trump. Imagine. I mean, you have to, like, they're capable of anything. Warren confirms. I love when they use the word confirms. Why does H.A. Goodman confirms Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James? It's a confirmation. A confirmation. I've confirmed it, but it's an opinion. Oh, I've confirmed it. Elizabeth Warren confirms that Bernie Sanders told her a woman could not win the presidency. Thanks, Elizabeth Warren. First, you didn't... Remember when you endorsed me? Remember, Lizzie, when you endorsed me last in 2016? Remember when you had a choice between me and Clinton? And everything that I believe in, you believe in. Remember when you endorsed me and you gave me your endorsement in 2016? You don't remember that? Aha! Get it? I'm being facetious. Of course you didn't endorse me. You wanted to be her vice president. Well, that didn't work out too well, did it? Thanks a lot. Then you made up for it by saying that I said that a certain type of person couldn't win. And of course, that was nonsense. That was not true at all. But you rolled with it. Further undermining my movement, which became a gigantic bowel movement. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Lizzie. I appreciate that very much. Elizabeth Warren, thank you. So, she starts off in 2016. Thomas Peterson, thank you. Thank you so very much. I appreciate your reporting. Thank you so very much, Thomas Peterson. Thank you. Greatly appreciated, sir. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Very kind of you. Very kind of you, Thomas. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the kind words. And Thomas, Michigan, Grandma, Jordan B., everyone here, what I'm trying to do, and Thomas, thank you so much. What I'm trying to do, Thomas and everybody here, is I want everyone to, before we get into the Durham probe again, I want everyone to realize, well, who are we dealing with? What kind of people are we dealing with? Look no further than how they treated Bernie Sanders. That's the type of person, these are the type of political creatures. These are political creatures. They devour anyone, they crush and devour and, try to decimate anyone in their way. And You can look no further than Defiant L's on Twitter. Thank goodness Twitter reinstated them. There was no reason at all to suspend them. But of course, what does Defiant L's do on Twitter? I don't have Twitter. I haven't had Twitter for 3 years. Plus, I don't have Facebook either. Thomas, thank you again. So kind of you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words as well. Thank you, sir. Defiant L's on Twitter, what they do is they'll take a tweet. All they do is just chronicle the endless liberal hypocrisy, which is hilarious. I mean, you will never find greater hypocrites on the planet than liberal Democrats. Republicans are hypocrites too, especially the never-Trumpers, primarily the never-Trumpers. But you will never find greater hypocrites than liberal Democrats who are morally superior, but who don't remember what they write. So when Trump was in office, they'll write a certain type of message on Twitter, and then when Biden's in office, they'll write the opposite message. So it'll be the epitome of hypocrisy. And what Defiant L's does is simply, it's public records because they don't go back and actually delete their tweets. So they'll screenshot an old tweet and then compare the old liberal Democratic Party operative or activist or voter that person's tweet with a more a message during Biden's administration or a news story. But you have Elizabeth Warren who's saying they cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016, then 4 years later she's helping cheat Bernie Sanders. So she spreads rumors and gossip about him and then decides to run, splitting his vote in two. Now, I was already supporting President Trump at this point, but I still, this is where I come from. I come from the left. Paul Bartlett! Thank you, Paul! Thank you so very much, Paul Bartlett. Paul, Thomas, Michigan, Grandma, thank you so much. Thank you, Paul. And to my viewers in Australia, thank you. To my viewers in Canada, God bless you. Thank you. Thomas, thank you. Paul, thank you. As always, Paul, for the kind words as well. Michigan, Grandma, thank you. So sweet of you. I mean, you can hear. And then not only... It's before we get to, not only is Bernie Sanders cheated, accused of saying things that he denies, he had to deal with an app that, took a victory away from him, last year, or 2 years ago. I mean, all of these things, a primary where he's just completely railroaded. He then says he condemns the Russian interference in his campaign, which is absurd because there was no Russian interference. There was no Russian interference. If a Facebook ad was purchased by a Russian company and the Facebook ad said vote for Bernie, that's not interference. Because you would have to believe that the American public is so gullible and so impressionable and so unable to choose a candidate. There's a big difference between Bernie Sanders and Clinton. There's not that big of a difference, by the way, between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. There really isn't. 2016 Bernie Sanders, not that big of a difference. Maybe 2020 Bernie Sanders, but you know what? He had to unendorse a 4 million sub pundit because of writing that the 4 million sub pundit wrote years back. That's the way the left is. It's all public relations nonsense. He had to condemn, not only is this man cheated, think just really quickly before we get to the Durham probe, think of the psychology. Thomas, thank you again. Paul, thank you so much. Michigan Grandma, thank you. Think of the psychology. They cheat him, and then he apologizes for losing after they cheat him. It's like taking a person's glasses and stepping on them, and then the person says, I'm sorry you were inconvenienced. You took my glasses and stepped on them in front of me. Gee, I'm so sorry. Ed from Queens. Will Bernie try again? He'll be 82. Probably, and they'll probably cheat him again. Ed from Queens. I think Clinton's going to run again. I want her to run again. I want her to become nominee. If she runs, she's becoming nominee. So that's like, when she runs, they shouldn't even have a primary. They should just say, look, best candidate, no primary. Let's just not joke around here. Ed from Queens, I think so. Thank you again, Ed from Queens. Thank you. Thomas, Paul, Michigan Grandma, thank you so much. Jordan B, thank you. He gets cheated. And then the Russia is interfering in the Sanders campaign, but the chaos is good for Trump. So let's just read this. How are they? The news emerged today after the New York Times reported that intelligence officials have determined. Who cares if intelligence officials have determined anything? Intelligence officials, by the way, they came out with a story today that Zero Hedge is spreading Russian propaganda. Anything that is against anything that the establishment or Democrats oppose is Russian propaganda. So, Russian propaganda has become a synonym. The new definition is literally anything that hurts the Democratic Party's chances. Anything. It could be Trump. It could be Tulsi Gabbard. It could be Bernie Sanders. It could be Zero Hedge. It could be anything. It could be Hunter's laptop. It could be anything. Could you imagine living in a world where people take that seriously? Could you imagine? Like, maybe you would have to have one functioning brain cell left to take that seriously. First of all, you never heard, U.S. intelligence says Reagan is a bad candidate. Who says this? Jimmy Carter's intelligence agencies. No one would believe it. They would say, yeah, you know what? The intelligence services are engaging in politics on behalf of the president. Could you imagine if Trump's intelligence agents, whether it's John Ratcliffe or, could you imagine if John Ratcliffe said, well, he said a lot of things and ignored by the media. But can you imagine if Trump's intelligence agency said that China was, or some other country was communicating through the Democratic Party or through the Washington Post? Could you imagine that? It would be immediately ignored by mainstream media. It would be they would completely mock and ignore it. If Bernie Sanders, and here's the thing, if he acted like Trump and said, you know what, I don't care what you think, they would also do exactly what they did to Trump. Have a tech executive one and Sussman and all of these people. That Democratic law firm that purchased the Steele dossier would purchase a Bernie Sanders dossier. The Bernard dossier. So, Bernie Sanders, apparently you were meeting with Russian operatives in Vermont. You were meeting at a cheese factory that also made maple syrup. And you were meeting with Russian operatives. Isn't that true? Why am I speaking like Bernie Sanders with it? They said, if you could believe this, the Washington Post, that they have a Bernard dossier. A Bernie Sanders dossier. They accused me of meeting with Putin's operatives at a gluten-free croissant bakery in Vermont that also has a maple syrup and goat cheese operation. That was in the Bernard dossier. That's what they did to me. All because I said that you cheated me in 2016, and then 4 years later, and then 4 years later after that, and I acted like a Trump, so they wanted to silence me. Nobody's enjoying this, but it's a catharsis for me. And so that's what they would do to Bernie Sanders if he acted like Trump. And maybe that's why he hasn't addressed anything. Rebecca, thank you. Ghost Dog, thank you. Jordan B. What is your expert opinion on who is willing to buy these failed legacy networks? I think, JG, thank you. David, thank you. Jordan B, I don't know. I think that they're probably going to pivot. So, Jordan B, you'll probably see a more I don't know. Will they pivot? I don't know. They actually, you know, it'll probably be they'll probably be content with getting less views than, pretty large YouTube channels for a while, and then they will pivot to Teresa K, thank you. They'll pivot to, oh well, let's be more moderate. So Jordan B, thank you so much. I don't think that I don't think that they're going to be changing their tune anytime soon. Although a lot of the because they're not going bankrupt anytime soon. Twitter in the next 3, 4, 5 years, I think so. But Thomas, thank you. Paul, thank you. Michigan Grandma, thank you. Jordan B, thank you. So this is not like the New York Times. This is also how they went after Trump, and they're still going. The New York Times reporting that intelligence officials determined is a completely meaningless statement. There's no evidence. Simply saying that intelligence says is completely meaningless. Intelligence can say anything and side with any political party. If they don't show the evidence, if they don't guarantee, if they don't say with certainty that something took place, the intelligence agencies state with confidence. I am also stating with confidence that Michael Jordan is better than LeBron James. But my opinion on the matter is worthless to people. JG, thank you. So, when an intelligence agency says we've determined something, like, for example, they keep on saying, they said the 16th, Russia is going to invade the 16th. The 16th. Well, did Russia invade? No. Okay. So, they're going to invade. We all knew this. But it's not on the 16th. So they're wrong yet again. You can add this to the Bay of Pigs, Gulf of Tonkin, WMD, and now this, and Facebook ads. Which gets us to the absurd completely mindless belief that information is harmful to people. Information is not harmful to anyone because people are able to decipher what is true and false. The greatest liars, the people who lie the most, are the wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats who said that Trump was installed by the Kremlin. That was not only a lie, that was the most absurd, ridiculous, stupid fantasy perpetuated by people who were paid by the Clinton campaign and DNC. And so the millions of Democrats who believe this nonsense, were their lives ruined? No. They maybe disowned friends, but that's a problem of character. Those are issues that perhaps that politics in the past couple of years has shown the character of people. If you disown a friend because of politics, you have poor character traits. You have problems in terms of who you are. You know, politics is one tiny aspect of life. If you think if you make it your identity, then you better make sure that you don't live in a glass house, because the tiniest pebble will make everything come crashing down. And Democrats have a lot of corruption that they ignore. From cheating Bernie Sanders to fabricating the Trump-Russia myth to all of these things. But it's like they're so desperate to hold on to power because the power they have, the influence they have is dissipating every day. It's dwindling every day. More and more people realize that not only does media lie by omission, the media will tell the truth, but they'll lie by omission. They'll tell only part of the truth. Or they'll manipulate. That's why they're so desperate when they say missing context, half true. We rate this 4 Pinocchios. Well, this fact check is missing context. It's somewhat true, mostly true. What they're doing is they're furthering an argument. They want the last word in an argument or debate, and then they will market that as a fact check. A fact check, like I've always said, is who won the 1955 World Series? Okay. The Yankees. Below in the chat. If I said to you, let's fact check, well, we don't have to fact, but who won Ali Frazier 1? Who won the first Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier match? Okay. In the chat. Who won the first Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier boxing match in, I believe, Madison Square Garden? Come on. Is this mic on? Come on! The first one! Frazier, exactly. Joe, Ghost Dog, exactly. Oh, Joe Frazier, everybody. So, if I said to you, Muhammad Ali won the first match with Frazier, fact check, that's wrong, false. The fact check is that Joe Frazier won. End of story. That is a fact check. That is a fact check. It is an easy. It's one. You know, it's a fact that Joe Frazier won, and so we're checking. You know, whatever it is we're talking about, checking the fact and fact checking. And okay, so anyone who says Muhammad Ali, the next two he won, but the first one Ali lost to Frazier. And if you say fact check, it was Frazier. End of fact check. You don't go on and say 3 Pinocchios, 3.5, 3.67589 Pinocchios. You don't say missing context. You don't say half true. You don't say mostly false. That's not a fact check. And what they'll do is they want the last word. And then what they'll do also is they'll say it is completely debunked. How do you know? Because we spoke to an opposing attorney. We spoke to an expert who disagrees. But that's not a fact. That's not a debunking. You're not debunking anything. You're looking at a different viewpoint. It's an appeal to authority, but an authority that happens to agree with you. You can find authorities that disagree with you. So that's not a fact check anyway. How many people believed the intelligence that said they're going to invade on the 16th? Which, by the way, what is the point of doing that? What is the point of saying, doing all of this? What's the point of also sending all of these like thousands upon like 5,000 Americans when we already have 70,000 stationed permanently in Europe? What's the point? Russia has nuclear weapons, so what's the point? You want mutually assured destruction? They're not invading any other country but Ukraine. So you get these like, we're reinforcing Eastern Europe. They're not invading Eastern Europe. They're not invading Romania. They're not invading Poland. So then you had the market up the other day because they thought that Russian troops were leaving the border, and now the market is down today because they're like, oh well, we were duped yet again. You have inflation through the roof. You have the Fed will raise interest rates next month. $1 trillion in margin debt. A supply chain that's getting worse. The breakdown is just still terrible. Labor shortages in key industries. And a stock market that's at an all-time high when the fundamentals in the economy, the producer price index we found out just recently, is at an all-time high. So, and then oil, let's look at oil prices. What did I tell you about oil? All right, 92, 93, but it's still approaching $100. It was at like 95, 96 a couple of days ago. And so that'll probably almost certainly, California gas prices just hit a record high, $5 per gallon. Could come soon. Here comes $7 gas prices. Warren oil strategist in dire outlook. $7 gas prices. Okay? $7 gas prices. Are you serious? I mean, it's only getting worse. My guess is that you're going to see $5 a gallon at any triple-digit oil prices. So that's $100 per gallon. And as soon as you get to 100, and you might get 650 or 7. Forget about, I don't know where it'll be. Okay, so Exactly. That's what he's saying. The same thing. Oil prices could become $150 per barrel. Could get to $150 per barrel. I mean, it's only getting worse. Everything, but at least Trump isn't tweeting. That's at least Trump isn't tweeting. Exactly. So you look and everything. Look, everything is. It's just getting worse. So just really quickly. So let's look at the St. Louis Fed here. So this was producer price index by industry. Crude petroleum going up. It was at an all-time high around 08. And it's going back up. Hmm. Oh, let's look at the other St. Louis Fed chart. This is called the Tubin Index right here. Aha! Waka waka. All right, so hold on one second. Oh, let's look at that St. Louis Fed chart. Oh, my goodness. So, supplier prices jumped last month as inflation surged. Oh man, God. I mean, I understand they want you to. I get it. They want you to pay the fee, like a subscription. But I mean, honestly, it wouldn't hurt them, like whether it's the Wall Street Journal or New York Times, just like give you like 10 or 12 free. It's like not that big of a deal. God, supplier prices jumped. There you go. What did I say last year? I said it's going to get worse. Little Lizzie, hello. Yeah, I mean, my God, oil prices, it's unbelievable. So you have inflation, the producer price index, the consumer price index. Let's look at the Baltic Dry Shipping Index. The Baltic Dry Shipping Index. Hmm. Oh, interesting. Huh. Oh. But why is that? But let's see. Doesn't make any sense. Um, so new container prices and production finally peak. Oh, okay. Signs of easing. All right, so that's actually getting better. So things are getting a bit better in terms of shipping. But inflation keeps going through the roof. So let's look at your labor statistics, inflation. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. 7.5% food, 7% food at home, 7.4% cereals. Let's see. Energy, 27% increase. Energy commodities, 39% increase. Fuel oil, 46% increase. Motor fuel, 40% increase. Can you see this via the okay, so Stephen! Stephen, pardon. Thank you, Stephen. Greatly appreciated, Stephen. Thank you. Thomas, everyone here. Thank you so very much, Stephen. Thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated. Stephen Parton, thank you. Thank you so much. So look at look at look at the inflation just from the graph here. Stephen, thank you so very much. Energy through the roof. Electricity. I mean, food, fruits, vegetables, meat. 12%. I mean, it's like, it's interesting that they see 7.5% inflation. Energy is 27% increase in price, 39% energy commodities, 46% fuel oil, motor fuel 40%, gasoline 40%, electricity 10%, utilities 23%, but they say inflation's at 7.5%. It's like, well, everything you use on a daily basis is through the roof. So I don't think the calculation makes any sense at all. Oh, dairy and related products, so 3.1%. No, I guess that's what's skewing everything. So shelter? No. Rent has gone up a lot. Used cars and trucks, wow, 40%. So I mean, everything's through the roof. Stephen, thank you. Everything is through the roof. Everything is just through the roof. And this, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is because they pushed to end the U.S. economy. That is exactly why. um, averaging up to 40% in some cities. So rent has increased 40% in some cities. That is nuts. That is nuts. And then you get, I mean, this is a direct result of Democratic Party policies. Direct result. It's a direct result. It is a direct result. Everything is going up through the roof. I mean, everything is going up through the roof. Mm. 27% according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Wow. Energy, 27%. Can look here. So, I'm trying to find it here. This 27%, but um oh, energy prices. Sorry. Energy, that's right. Energy prices, okay. Um Single family annual rent growth finishes 2021 with new record. So there you go. I mean, this is the result of tanking the economy. And who pushed for that gleefully? Democrats and media. It's too soon. It's too soon. It's too soon to open up. 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 It's too soon. Trump wants to open up. It's too soon. Experts say. Experts say it's too soon. It's much too soon. It's too soon. So, I mean, you have a situation where things are like the correlation to the Durham probe. I mean, we can kind of burned out a little bit on it. So, and I did a live stream today on it. We're supposed to talk about, but we can look at the indictment here. I mean, this is hilarious. Sussman provided to the FBI General Counsel 2 thumb drives and hard copy papers, which were comprised of. So this is all they developed. They got all of this information on Trump and compiled it into basically like another form of the dossier. Gave it to people at the bureau who knew very well that it was purchased, basically bought by Clinton. But see, they didn't care. But all of this, Elizabeth Warren, energy costs, this is all related. It's all related. The Durham probe special counsel is directly tied to the inflation we see now. Without media, ladies and gentlemen, Democrats could not get. They would have no political influence, very little. Without social media algorithms, without the Washington Post, the New York Times, they would have like no influence. They say, well, reality has a liberal bias. Well, if that were true, Trump would be arrested for conspiring alongside Russian operatives, which never happened. The Mueller probe found nothing. Investigations into his tax returns found nothing. They obsessed for years. They said Trump's taxes were the holy grail of corruption. Never happened. Never happened. Never happened. So, Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. This is an amazing live stream. I know we kind of veered off a little bit from the Durham Probe Special Counsel, but it's all related because you have to you can't, you can't look at this special counsel as only about what they did to Trump. I mean, that's obviously what it's the direct the special counsel is investigating how they set up and framed Trump. They've already indicted 3 people for setting up and framing Trump. But you got to look at, look what they did to Bernie Sanders. Look what Elizabeth Warren said in 2016, and look what she did to Bernie Sanders. If they treat their own candidates this way, imagine what they would do to Trump. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, they accused of being a Russian operative. The thing is that you're seeing right now peak liberal utopia. They have control of social media algorithms, most of media. They have the House, the Senate, the presidency, and there's inflation through the roof, energy costs, rent, everything is just skyrocketing. You have crime soaring in major cities, homelessness, you have a geopolitical nightmare with Russia, Ukraine, and they're still investigating Trump. And that's all they're doing in Congress is investigating Trump. And they're still finding nothing. And this is a fleeting moment in time. Like I said, the more people talk about, the worse, unfortunately, the worse the economy gets, the more the Durham Probe Special Counsel will play, a greater role in politics, and the more indictments you'll see. Anyway, hit subscribe. Thank you so much. Everyone here, Thomas, everyone here, Michigan Grandma, Paul, everybody here, thank you so very much. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll try to do a live stream also in the afternoon, probably around 3 or 4 or so. So be here at around 3 or 4, everybody. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great, great day. And subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel also. JG, Luke, Eric, everybody here. To my super chat, thank you so very. Jordan B, everybody here. Thomas, Michigan Grandma, Paul, everybody here. Thank you so much.